We know, we know. Hey, everybody. We're going to go ahead and let everybody in now, and we'll get started in just a few moments. Hey, everybody. Welcome. We're going to be getting started in just a few moments. I'm giving everybody a chance to get on into the webinar and get us all set up. So we'll be getting started in about 3 minutes. So I'll see you all then. Hey, how can I help you? While we're waiting, go ahead and put in where you're from in the chat and where you heard about Akylade and this webinar. I'd love to hear about that from you all, and we'll be getting started in just a few moments here. Awesome. I see Africa, I see Canada, I see Virginia, and the promo email from Dion. Awesome. It's great to see you, Christopher. So you already know who I am, obviously, but I'm sure you'll learn a lot more about everything else. Kingsley, great to see you as well. We're going to get started in just a moment. I'm just waiting for my co-host, who is running a few moments late. Hey, everybody. We're going to be getting started in just a moment. My partner, Kip, is just logging in now. He had a little hiccup on his internet connection. He's going to his backup, and he'll be here in just a second, and then we'll get started. All right. Hey, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Kip, I believe you're here. Go ahead and say hello for us just to make sure everybody can hear you and see you. I don't hear Kip yet. Can you all hear me? Everybody can hear Jason talking? Let me know in the chat. Okay, I hear Kip now.
Yay!
All right, cool. And I think everybody can hear us, right? Give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat. All right, cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started then. Hey, everybody, I want to thank you for joining us today for our live webinar on the Akylade Certified Cyber Resilience Fundamental Certification. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what Akylade is. We're going to talk about what the certification is, how you can get it, how you can get involved. And if you already have the certification, because I know some people already have, you will also have the ability to learn how you can get involved with the second level that's coming out, which is the practitioner, as well as other certifications we're developing in the future as part of our development team and as part of our advisory council if you already are a hiring manager or working in that space. So those are the kind of things we're going to be covering as we go through today. And we're really going to answer a bunch of different questions here for you. We're going to answer, why does the world need another cybersecurity certification? Because we all know there are hundreds of them out there. Why is Accolade different and how are they different? How are the certifications structured? How you can get certified and how you can get involved in the development with Accolade, as well as our current certifications and our future certifications. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. Before we do that, I'm going to do a quick introduction to myself and my partner. My name is Jason Dion. A lot of you already know me from Dion Training. I am the lead instructor at Dion Training, and I've been working in and around the cybersecurity space for about 25 years. During that time, I've worked in cybersecurity, and the last 5 to 7 years, I've worked as a trainer, specifically as a certification trainer, where a lot of you probably know me, and helping with a lot of different certifications, like all the CompTIA certifications from IT Fundamentals and A Plus and Network Plus and Security Plus and Pentest Plus and CISA Plus and CAS Plus and all of those, in addition to working with PeopleCert and Axelos for the ITIL and Prince 2 exams, as well as working with LPI and the Python Institute and lots of other certification companies out there. So I'm really well versed in this certification space. And the thing that I found was there's a lot of problems in this space that a lot of you probably share the frustrations in. We'll talk about that as we go through this today in this webinar. My partner who's with me is Kip Boyle. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. If you listen to the Your Cyber Path podcast, you've probably heard his voice before because he is the host of the Your Cyber Path podcast, and I am his co-host over there. So Kip, go ahead and give us a quick background on you.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. As Jason said, if you've heard our podcast, Your Cyber Path, no doubt you've heard both of us talk. I've been working as a chief information security officer since 2003, and I've been in the cybersecurity and IT space since 1992. Actually. So, and today I work as a fractional chief information security officer, which means that I have a number of different customers who can't, for whatever reason, have a full-time CISO. And so I fulfill that function for them. And I also have a team of people who support me just as if I was a full-time CISO working for a single organization. So that's what I spend most of my time doing. And, Jason's absolutely the certification expert. I defer to him whenever he talks about certifications. My area of expertise is really more around the hiring process, being a hiring manager. Jason's one too, and I have been working in the private sector for almost all my career. And so, as a hiring manager, I'm deeply interested in being able to identify great people who I want to add to my team. And I've had frustrations on my side of the hiring process, trying to identify certifications that can actually help me make great choices during the hiring process. So that's a big perspective that I'm bringing into the conversation today and into Accolade and what we're trying to do. So I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, Kip. Yeah, and the other reason why I partnered up with Kip is we both bring a different perspective. And if you listen to Your Cyber Path, you probably heard this. I come from the government and the DoD contracting world. Kip comes from the civilian sector for the last 20 years. And so we have a very diverse background in cybersecurity, and things in our industry work in different ways depending on if you're working for a commercial company or a governmental organization like I did. And so having both those perspectives is really valuable. And we bring that into Accolade with us, as well as Kip's large network of hiring managers managers that he works with, and a lot of them are part of our advisory council and help us as we develop these different certifications. So, to answer the first question, do we really need more certifications? Well, obviously, we think we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have started Acylade, and Acylade wouldn't exist. But the reason we do is because the current certifications on the market are not meeting the needs of a hiring manager. This is probably one of the biggest frustrations I hear from candidates all the time, which is, oh my gosh, I have to go get another certification. Or as I look on the screen, I see the CEH certification, and it's $1,200 to take a multiple choice exam that doesn't really guarantee you a job anyway. And there's just hundreds and thousands of these different certifications out there. But the problem is, most of these certifications have been developed almost in a vacuum, and they're not being in touch with what the hiring managers of today need. And so that's one big problem. The second problem is a lot of these certifications are extremely focused on knowledge only and not practical use. Now, there are a handful of them out there that are practical certifications. For example, if you work in the pen testing environment, you may have gone and gotten OSCP. And OSCP is a great certification. It's a 24-hour exam, it's hands-on, and you go and you do a penetration test and submit your report at the end to get certified. And that is the level of in-depth, hands-on practical training that is available through a certification like that. But that is very few and far between. And then the other area that we've seen is that a lot of these certifications start at the very foundational level, or they start at a very basic level where it's very much definitions. So, for example, I don't know about all of you, but I know when I got my Security Plus the first time, I got out of there and I was like, yes, I passed. And then I was like, wait, how does this actually apply to the real world? How do I actually do the things I just learned about? Because yes, I learned that a pen test was important, but I didn't learn how to do one. I learned that auditing was important, but I didn't learn how to do an audit. I learned that vulnerability scanning was important, but nobody showed me the tools of how to use it. And again, it's missing that link to the practicality, and that's one of the problems. And so a lot of people that are hiring managers get very frustrated with certifications because we have what's known as a paper tiger. And you get somebody who is fully certified, and I can have every certification on that board right now, but I may still be useless to my employer because I don't know how to actually do anything valuable for them in the real world.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so as we were developing these certifications at Accolade, that was one of our guiding principles is any certifications we develop, we need to cover not just the theory, but we need to have practical application. And then the second thing is we didn't want to be in a space that other people are already in. For example, we don't have a cybersecurity fundamentals exam. Why? Because there's already Security Plus, and it does a great job of that. There's already SSCP from IC Squared, and they do a good job of that. There's already Linux Professional Institute Security Essentials, and they do a good job of that. So those are three competing entry-level certification exams. And so why do we need to add another one? So we didn't. So what we did is we look for holes in the marketplace, places that hiring managers are like, I know I need this skill set, but there's no certifications that match it. And we wanted to find a place that there was no certifications already existing. So A, there's not a bunch of competition for us. And B, we're not wasting your time in trying to do a quote money grab to just get your money to get another certification on your wall. So that's why we think that there is a need for more certifications, but we think there's a need for the right certifications in the right topic areas that are really going to impact what you can do on a daily basis. And it makes it an easy button for hiring managers to go, yes, if I see that this person is Acylade, CCRF, or CCRP certified, I know they can do this level of work for me and my organization. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today as we go into these different certifications and why it's important. Before we do that, I do want to give you a quick background on what Accolade is and what we do. So, Kip, I'll pass that one over to you.
Sure. So Accolade is a company that specializes in creating certifications. And, okay, Kip, that's fine. We've heard that already. But what do we not do? Well, one of the things we don't do is we don't actually train people. We actually have a partnership with multiple different training organizations, and we're still building that out right now, so that you, as the person wanting to get certified in an Accolade certification, can choose the type of training that fits you the best. So we do publish a textbook, we do publish practice exams. So if that's all you need to get yourself ready to take an examination, great. But if you'd prefer to get trained, and there's all kinds of different ways you could do that, right? You could go out to a place like Udemy, and you could purchase a course, a video course there, and you could use that as a self-study method. Or let's say you prefer live instruction. Well, there's going to be training providers out there that will offer that alternative as well. So we're trying to make sure that in the broader ecosystem, that however you like to learn and prepare for an examination, that choice will be available to you. Now, Accolade is also trying to, and actually, I think we're doing a good job of this, and we're going to keep doing this. We want to produce certifications that are very high quality. And to do that, typically you have to do a lot of rigorous um, work to make sure that your test questions, your examinations, and everything that you're doing is statistically sound, and that it actually has a certain amount of rigor, and that when somebody passes your examination, that it's actually meaningful, in the same way that if you go to a university that is accredited, all right, well, that's meaningful because an independent third party has gone in and said, yes, this university has produced classes and curriculum that when its graduates enter the workforce, they weren't sold a bill of goods, that they were actually learning in a rigorous way. Well, Accolade has done the same thing. We've actually partnered with another organization called Certiverse. And Certiverse is our third party that makes sure that our test questions, our examinations, all the process and procedures that we go through to grant or confer a certification on somebody who takes the examination, that it's all very credible and all very high quality. So as Jason has said to me before, hey, Kip, we don't want to just be the kind of company where, Kip and Jason write an exam based on what they think is the right thing to do. And then, they just kind of drop it out there onto the marketplace and nobody knows, is it a sound examination? Is it based on, principles and the body of knowledge that, that is accessible by anybody who wants to take the exam? And is it a fair exam? Are the questions reasonable? Right. And so you don't have to worry about that because we're making sure that our exams and our certifications are not only practical for the real world, but they're also actually high quality. And we think that's important. We think hiring managers want to see that, and we think that people who are actually spending their money on examinations want to know that they're getting a high quality product. So some of those are some of the big things about who Accolade is. Jason, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I would say that's all exactly right. And one of the big things is that when we were developing this, we saw the need from hiring managers as we worked in the Your Cyber Path podcast and in our industry connections that we've dealt with, that they're saying, hey, there's this really big need for people to know the NIST cybersecurity framework as an example. And so our first set of certifications is based on the NIST cybersecurity framework at the fundamental and the practitioner level. And we'll talk about that as we go through today. And as we looked at the marketplace, we found that there's only one other certification out there for the NIST cybersecurity framework. And it actually wasn't even a certification, it was a certificate. And there's a difference between a certificate and a certification. And if you don't know the difference, let me explain it to you really quick. Anyone can issue a certificate. Jason can go and create a course today, and at the end of that course, you get a certificate saying you finished the course. You're now certified as being finished in that course. That doesn't hold any value with employers, though, because it's not a rigorous exam. It just says you attended the training. And the other company that was doing this NIST cybersecurity training, that's essentially what they were doing is they made their own exam, they made their own curriculum. The only way to get, quote, certified is to take their training and to pay them a bunch of money and go through their course. And at the end, you get your certificate saying you're finished, right? And that is something we did not want to do. We wanted to be industry trusted and world renowned, the way that Axelos is, the way that PeopleCert is, the way that CompTIA is. And the way that you do that is by going through this rigorous exam development process, testing process, and a statistical analysis process so you can get ISO 9000 certified. And everyone around the world knows this is a trusted exam because you've gone through that process. And that's exactly what we've done. And this is what makes Acylade different, is that we wanted to make sure that we are doing certifications that matter. We're partnering up with hiring managers to make sure we're building things that they need. And on the other side, for you as a candidate, that becomes important because if the hiring managers are getting what they need, they now know that when they see that thing on the resume, they're able to say, yes, I know that person is qualified to do this job role because they are a practitioner and they know how to do the functions. And so
Right.
that's the big difference here with the way we do things. So
Can I say one more thing, Jason?
yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, I think this bears a little bit of unpacking. So you had mentioned this before, Jason, which is that we have an advisory council composed of hiring managers. Now, this is really important because we believe that if hiring managers are driving the creation and the specification of our certifications, that is all for the better. Because as a candidate, when you're taking an exam, if you know that the questions that are being asked on the exam and that the body of knowledge that you're being tested on uh, was determined in whole or in part by people that you want to work for, well, then that also increases the value of the exam. And so we have pulled together hiring managers from all different industries, all different sizes of companies, and they're actually helping us figure out what these certifications should consist of. And I think that makes us unique. I'm not aware of any other organization out there that determines body of knowledge and exams questions based on what hiring managers are looking for. That was a big thing that we saw that was missing in the marketplace. And I just wanted to take a moment to emphasize that we are doing that. And quite frankly, I think that's amazing and fantastic. And as we go forward and do other certifications, because we actually have a roadmap of various certifications that we intend to build and release, I want to say that they're all going to be directly informed by what hiring managers think are the most important aspects for candidates to know about so that they can succeed on the job.
Yeah, exactly. And so as we talk about these different things that make us different, right? Number one is working with these hiring managers. We work with the hiring managers. And the reason we think that is so important is because one of the things I tell my students when they say, what certification should I get? There are 10 different certifications for this topic. Let's say pen testing, right? There's CEH, there's OSCP, there's Pen Test Plus, there's a bunch of other ones out there. There's Crest over in the UK. And all of these cover essentially the same thing. And when people say, well, which one should I get? Well, the answer is which one is the company that you want to go work at asking you to get? And the way you look at this is by going on Monster or Dice or LinkedIn and going, the job description says Pentest Plus required or CEH required or OSCP recommended or whatever it is. And so what we've identified is as a certification company, our job is not to sell you on our product. We are not trying to convince you that you need to buy an Acylade certification and get certified. Instead, we are spending all of our marketing efforts around the hiring managers and getting them to realize this is what they need and having them work with us to develop these. And because they've developed these with us, they believe it's important too. So what you're going to see is over the next year, a lot more jobs are going to start saying CCRF or CCRP required or recommended because these hiring managers who helped us develop this are putting those into their job postings. And as we all know, hiring managers and the hiring world in HR, it takes a while to kind of permeate. And so, if you get certified this year, you may see some people ask for it, but not a ton of people yet. Next year, there'll be more. Next year, there'll be more. And basically within 3 to 5 years, we're hoping and what we're working towards is to make it synonymous with those job postings for anything dealing with the NIST cybersecurity framework and the other certifications we cover, just like almost every job for a DoD contractor now requires Security Plus. That's the level that we're working towards. And to do that, it's not our job to sell you. We're not focused on generating profits. We're focused on generating value and creating value with you. And we do that through our candidates being able to get certified. And most importantly, we do it by working with the companies and the organizations to make sure that these things are being asked and that we're meeting the needs they have. So
Right.
since we've built these certifications to answer what they need, they're then going to recommend these certifications, which then you as a candidate go, oh, I should go get that certification because the company is asking for it. And
Yeah.
what we've done here is we've really focused on the practical skills so that for a hiring manager, when they see that you are CCRP certified, they know you can do the job of a cybersecurity consultant. And that's really what the difference is here with what we're doing.
Yep. And
So,
Jason, one more
yep.
thing I want to add to that. Our vision is that in like Jason said, in like about 3 years, that when the Accolade logo appears on your resume or the word Accolade is identified in an applicant tracking system, that your resume is going to go to the top of the pile automatically because the quality of our certifications is such that hiring managers just immediately say, if that person has an Accolade certification, I want to talk to them.
Yep, exactly. And so, we talked a lot about the reason why we've started this and the reason we're putting so much time and effort into building up this brand and this certification body and how we've gone about building these certifications. So you're probably wondering, how are these certifications structured? And what we're doing is every certification and every concept that we're covering with our certifications is being broken down into 2 areas. We call these our fundamentals and our practitioner levels. So our first 2 certifications, the first one is already out, which is the ACCRF. That's the Accolade Certified Cyber Resilience Fundamentals. And the follow-up to that is the practitioner level, which is coming out. It's about to go into beta in December and January. And so it'll be out in early 2024. And that is the Accolade Certified Cyber Resilience Practitioner. Now, what do we do inside of these certifications and what makes them different? When we talk about the cyber resilience fundamentals, This is the one that is tied directly to the NIST cybersecurity framework. And if you've ever worked with the NIST cybersecurity framework, it is a wonderful tool that tells you how you should do cybersecurity inside of your organizations and doing it from a risk-based approach as opposed to trying to secure everything. You're securing the things that are most important to you. One of the biggest complaints I've gotten, though, from hiring managers and from people who have gone through and used the NIST cybersecurity framework is that it is a framework created by the US government. If you've never worked with a US government framework before, they're very, very high level. They don't practically tell you what to do. So they say, here's all the concepts you should do, right? So if I said, hey, there's a meeting tomorrow in New York, I need you to get to New York, right? That's the level they tell you. They don't tell you how to get to New York. Now, you could walk, you could drive a bike, you can get on a boat, you could fly, you could drive your car. There's lots of ways to do it, but all of them are valid as long as they get you there on time. And that's the way that the government looks at it from the NIST cybersecurity framework. The problem with that is it's really hard for new people to get started using it because it is so generic. And so in the fundamentals exam, we're going to teach you all the terms, the terminology, so you can be part of a cybersecurity consultation team. Then, when you get to the practitioner level, we've now taken that framework and now we're telling you how to actually use it. And in the practitioner, we focus on a process known as the CR map or the Cyber Risk Management Action Plan, which basically you go out, you find all the errors in the organization, you figure out what you're going to do to fix them, and then you work through fixing them. And this is a 3-phase plan with multiple steps in it, and we walk you through all of those. Now, when you take the fundamentals exam, you're going to get a lot of knowledge-based questions. And if you literally read the NIST cybersecurity framework document, which is about 55 pages, and you have a good understanding of risk management fundamentals, between those two things, you'd be able to pass that exam without having to do too much studying because all of that is there. Now, in addition to that, we do provide a textbook that you can use to study for it that really teaches you our way of doing it and the Acylade approved methodologies for all these definitions. But at its heart, it really is very close and almost a direct overlap with the NIST cybersecurity framework at that fundamentals level. When you go up to the next level in the practitioner, now we're actually taking that 55-page document that NIST put out and we're expanding it into how do you actually do this on a daily basis as a cybersecurity practitioner. And that's what we're focused on here. So if your ideal job is being a cybersecurity consultant or a virtual chief information security officer or an information security officer or a chief security officer or any of those type of positions, that is what we're focused on inside of the practitioner level. It's how do you operationalize and use this NIST cybersecurity framework on a daily basis. Kip, I know you're like the expert when it comes to CR maps. You want to speak a little bit about what that looks like as we move into that practitioner level?
Absolutely. Where does the CR map idea or process come from? Well, it comes from me and my team. For the last 6 years, we've been working with paying customers who have come to us and said, we want to be more cyber resilient. We want to get more business value for the money that we're spending on our cybersecurity because we're not totally sure that the way we're spending our money is giving us the best possible results. So, by working with our customers, we have over time figured out how to answer those questions and to create a lot of business value in the process of doing that. The result is a cyber risk management action plan. Now, we have documented our process for making cyber risk management action plans in the official Accolade textbook, which you can go and get right now. It's available on Amazon. Cost is about 20 bucks and you can start reading about it. We took that, and has now become the basis for the practitioner certification that we're going to be releasing in early 2024, which means that when you're certified as a practitioner, you're going to be able to go to an employer and say, I know how to use a step by step methodology that's been proven to work with organizations of all sizes and in all different types of industries. And so we don't have to guess at how to make the cybersecurity framework work for us. I'm going to show up and I'm already going to have an understanding of the methodology. I'm also going to have, because it was provided to me by Accolade, access to an online workbook that's going to automate a lot of this process. And I'm going to be ready to go. Hiring managers think that's amazing. And that is exactly what we want you to be able to do in an interview with a hiring manager, is to be able to discuss the cybersecurity framework, why it's great, what its pros and cons are, and more importantly, how do you implement it? How do you actually get a more cyber resilient organization? What's the step-by-step process? And it's all in the practitioner certification.
Yep, exactly. And the other target audience for the practitioner certification is those of you who want to go out and be a cybersecurity consultant and start your own firms on your own, because it does give you this kind of handbook of how to run your business and to walk through step by step as you do this. In fact, I know we have one partner out in Malaysia who does that exactly. He's been working with Kip for a couple of years, and Kip taught him the CR map process, and they've been doing this. And now he works with a bunch of oil and gas companies out in the Malaysia and the Southeast Asia market, doing cyber risk management action plans as a independent cybersecurity consultant, and it's worked really well. And he also has a training company, and he's actually going to be one of our ATPs who's going to be offering in-person training in that area of the world for the CCRF and CCRP certifications. So yeah. So how do you get certified? Just like most certification exams you've taken, you will take an online exam. Instead of having to go into in-person testing center like Pearson View, if you've taken a test recently, most of them are done online. If you do PeopleCert or Pearson View, they can both be done online. With Acylade, we do the same thing. It is a proctored exam. You will take the exam online using the Certiverse system, and you'll get your results at the end of the exam immediately following it to be able to figure out if you passed or not and how you did. And to get certified, there's lots of ways. As Kip mentioned earlier, you could take a class, you could just read the textbook. And at the end of it, if you go into Akylade.com under certifications, you'll see CCRF and CCRP. If you go on that drop down for CCRF, for example, you will see that you can sign up and get a copy of the objectives. And inside this objective document, it covers the 5 domains on the exam. And then inside of those 5 domains, all of the different objectives for each of those 5 domains, which includes things like risk management, the framework tiers, the profiles, and all the other things that we're going to be covering inside of the exam. You can self-study by using the NIST Cybersecurity Framework Guidance, or you can get the textbook, and the textbook is about 200 pages. The same textbook is used for both CCRF and CCRP. The difference is the first 10 chapters is CCRF. It's all the fundamentals and building you up. And then CCRP is those first 10 chapters plus the remaining part of the book, because everything from the first half is also applied in the practitioner level. The difference is the level of questions. When you're dealing with the fundamentals, it's very much definitional or applying to a very small scenario of 1 or 2 sentences. Very similar if you've taken something like a Security Plus exam, that kind of level of knowledge. When you get to the practitioner exam, though, the whole script flips. And this is going to be unlike any exam you've taken before, unless you've taken what's known as the Prince 2 practitioner exam or the IDLE practitioner exam, which are done by PeopleCert. And these are essentially a fully case study involved certification. So each question is anywhere from, a quarter of a page to a half a page of information about a company. And these come from real world companies from our partners who are using the CR maps in the real world. And they gave those to us. We've anonymized them so you can't identify what company it was. For example, you can say, oh, this was the Dallas All-Stars basketball team or something like that, right? It's just a sports team, right? Or something like that. And as you go through the scenario, it will put you in the shoes of being a cybersecurity analyst. And basically you're going to say, okay, you've arrived here as a consultant. You've looked at this organization. Here's what you found. Now, what recommendation would you do based on the CR map process? And you have to figure out where you are in the process and what recommendations you would do. And again, what we're trying to do here is show that you have the practical skills to make the right recommendations to those clients based on all the different factors that are being put together. And that's how we build this up. When it comes to studying for these, like I said, you can use the textbook and self-study. You can also take in-person training through our ATPs. And if you happen to be a corporate trainer or a training company and you're interested in becoming a partner, shoot us an email at support@akylade.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we can tell you about our ATP program. And all of our ATPs get authorized by us to train what we're teaching in our style. They get a copy of our slides that we've created as our white labeled slide deck, so they can go out and train it using what we have as a baseline, and then they can add to that in addition to that. And then there's also going to be some asynchronous courses available. I know that Dion Training, a lot of you know me from Dion Training, they are going to be doing a course for the CCRF in the first quarter of 2024. So sometime between January and March, they'll be coming out. And the one for CCRP will be coming out between March and June through Dion Training. So if you like the Dion Training style, they are an ATP, and they will be doing a course on this. It will not be me teaching the course, though. I just want to put that out there. I know a lot of you love me, but I will not be the one teaching it. And we did that specifically because we don't want this to become just it's Jason's certification, right? This is not Jason. This is Acylade. I will be working with Reed Biggood, who is the instructor at Dion Training, who will be the one doing those 2 courses. So if you've done any of our project management courses, you've been exposed to Reed already, and he's a great teacher, and I think you guys will love him. So
Hey,
that's
Jason,
another
can
one
I
there.
point out
Yep.
that Allison has put a URL in the chat to give you a quick path to downloading the exam objectives.
Yep.
So if you want to get your hands on those, and I recommend that you do, and start looking at them, check the chat. Look, the URL is in there, and if you look a little bit higher in the chat, you'll see that Allison has also put in a link that will allow you to quickly access the textbook, and so you can grab that right away as well.
Yep. And then the other question I saw there from Elizabeth was practice exams. So for the CCRF, we do have a practice exam available on our website. You can get that by going to Akylade.com, and then it is located under the. I know we have it. I will get you that answer. I know it exists. I just don't remember where we put
Well,
it for you guys
let's
to be able to
ask
download
Allison.
it.
Allison's supporting us behind the scenes today, and so Allison, if you can hear me, if you could find the link so that folks can get the practice exam, and drop it in chat, would really appreciate it.
Yep. It looks like our web team did not put the link up there like it's supposed to. So we will get that, and we will send a follow-up email to everybody who attended this webinar with the link to those practice exams. But the practice exams, we do have a PDF of a sample paper that will show you what the 40 questions look like. It's a 40-question exam for the fundamentals level, and that is a 40-question exam, and you have 60 minutes to complete it. And there's also 10 extra questions on the exam, which are beta questions, but only 40 of them are graded. The other 10 that are mixed in there are ones that we're testing for the next version of the exam. So if you get some questions, you're like, what are those? It's a very common practice. If you take an AWS course, it's the same thing. You get 65 questions, and they have 15 beta, 50 of them are graded. And in our case, it's 50 questions, 40 of them are graded. So Elizabeth, we will get you the answer on the practice exams. Yes, there are practice exams available. We as Acylade build out a couple of sets of practice exams, and then our training partners will also be building out additional practice exams. So I know Dion Training, as they're building out the video course, they'll have a practice exam in there, and then they'll also create a practice exam only course that's available on Udemy that will have 6 full-length practice exams, and they're currently working on that now. So that should be coming out in the next couple of months.
Jason, I know we're not done with the slide deck yet, but I am seeing some really interesting questions in the chat. And I
Yeah.
just want to assure people that as long as we've got time available today, we will do everything we can to get you some answers to the questions that you're putting in there. So if you have
Yeah.
questions, please continue to put them in the chat so that we hopefully can get to them all.
Yep, Ali is writing them all down. And Elizabeth, I work with Reed a lot, so he is now my mini-me. So he teaches the same way I do. And I will be helping him as he writes all his scripts for the Dion training course. But it won't be me on screen just because I am trying to distance the training from the provider. Because again, I just don't want to get that look like that other NIST course out there. If those, I know somebody else mentioned that they know there's another NIST certification, and you can back me up on this. To be able to get certified in that, you have to take that person's training, and they're the same one who wrote the exam, and they're the same one who's going to certify you. And we just don't want that to happen, because then it kind of devalues the
Yep.
Acylade certification and brand, and now it just becomes Jason, right? And we don't want to hang everything on Jason's reputation, right? So, but that being said, I promise you the training will be good, and if you like me, you'll like Reed. He's basically a 10-year younger version of me. So
Well,
really,
but he
really good
doesn't
guy.
have the haircut yet.
He
So,
doesn't. He's still got all his hair, unlike me. So um, so yeah, and then Fifi, I will get back to your question in a moment because it's going to take me a little bit longer to answer yours. So I promise I will get there. All right. So the last question I have here for you is, how can you get involved with developing future certifications? So there's a couple of things that you can do to help us, right? One is obviously we would love it if you go and take the exam and get certified. That would help us out. The more people are certified, the more the brand will grow, and the more it's going to be out there. And we understand this is a long-term play. It's going to take us 2, 3, 4 years to get that market penetration we're looking for. The second area is that you can be part of our advisory council. And Kip, do you want to talk a little bit about the advisory council and who's the ideal candidate to join that advisory council or to ask to be a part of it?
yes. So I told you what the advisory council's role is, and I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for you to imagine that you need to be a hiring manager. You need to be somebody who has actually gone through the process many times of posting a job, screening resumes, conducting interviews, and then ultimately hiring people bringing them on your team, nurturing them, helping them grow professionally, and ultimately, at some point, saying, "Thanks for being here. I understand you need to, get on to your next thing, whatever it is." And so that's the perspective that we need in the advisory council, because it's not enough to be an external recruiter who is helping hiring managers. And the reason for that, quite frankly, is because external recruiters don't have to live with the consequences of their hiring decisions. It's really important that the people on our advisory council have had that experience, because it's very difficult to become a really effective hiring manager without actually having done it and without actually having lived with the consequences of your decisions. So, if you're somebody who lines up with that profile, it doesn't matter to us what organization you're working with. It could be in the government sector, could be in the private sector, could be in North America, or you could be located in a completely different part of the world. For example, I can see from the list of attendees today, we have people here from all over the place. We have many people from the United States, but we also have people from Europe, from Asia. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. If you have the kind of experience that I just talked about, I would love to hear from you. If you know somebody, if you know a hiring manager who has worked in cybersecurity and has done the kinds of things that I've talked about, and you think, wow, like I really like my boss, I'm so glad I'm working for them, and you think that they would make a great person to join our advisory council, please let them know that this is an opportunity and that they should consider it. And if they want to send a message to me, kip at accolade.com, then I would be glad to speak with them about it as an opportunity. And so I hope that Jason, I've done a good job of describing what the advisory council is and who's a great fit. Would you add anything?
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I was going to add to that is that right now, a lot of our advisory council is here in the United States or Canada. We have some really awesome people, including from large corporations. We have one who is a very high level person at BlackBerry, for example, which is a large tech services firm at this point. And we've got a lot of people on our council that are really awesome that are helping us develop these certifications. The one area that we would really like to expand into is more outside the US and Canada, too. So if you're in the UK, if you're down in Africa, which I know is not one country, it's a bunch of countries, but you know what I mean. I saw we did. I don't, but I did see I have somebody from Africa here, specifically Nigeria, in this webinar today. We have folks in India, we have folks in Pakistan. Like I said, we have a partner who's in Malaysia who's helping us. The broader we can go, the better we can make this certification as a worldwide certification. Because one of the other problems I've seen a lot is that when CompTIA makes a certification, most of the people who show up to help write the exam and write the job task analysis that starts the exam writing process, which is what creates the requirements of what's going to be covered on the exam, is pretty much all Americans or Canadians and Americans, because they're located in Chicago and they bring a lot of people in together there. And that gives us a much different perspective on these exams than what is actually out there in the real world, because the US is just one country out of 190 plus countries in the world. But yet we kind of think of ourselves as the only one out there, and we don't want to be that way. So if you're somebody who is overseas and not American, we really want you to be involved as well. So please let us know. Another area that you can get involved with. So as we go through the exam creation process, there's actually a whole bunch of steps, right? The advisory council is the first piece, right? And the advisory council is for them to help us decide what areas should we create certifications in. So we've created this NIST cybersecurity framework. The next one we're going to be working on is the risk management and risk management framework areas, because that's another area we've heard from hiring managers that there's no good certifications out there, and they need something to be able to say, yes, this person is certified and qualified for this position versus not being. And so that's an area that the advisory council said, hey, we think you need to build something there. So now that we have that, we then create what's called a job task analysis. And as part of the job task analysis, we're looking for people who have anywhere from 5 years to 15 years of experience in the cybersecurity world. And basically what we say is, okay, if you're working as a risk management consultant or a risk management practitioner, what are the things you do on a daily basis? What are the things you do on a weekly basis? What are the things you do on an annual basis? And so on. And all these things get written out, and everybody creates all the different tasks. Then it goes out to the entire group, and we send out this list of like 300 different tasks, and they all vote on them and say, okay, me as a cybersecurity person, I do this every day. This one I only do every other day. This one I do every 3 months, whatever it is. And all those things get put into the big machine, and the machine comes out and says, okay, out of these 300 tasks, we think these are the 150 that are the most important for your certification. And then those get grouped into domains and objectives, and those domains and objectives become what the exam is written about. And then it goes into the exam writing process. And this is another place where you could be involved in if you have to be an expert in one of these areas. For example, as we go and work on the new certifications for risk management, and you're like, hey, I've been working in risk management for 2 or 3 years, you could be somebody who wants to come in and help us write questions. And when we have people help us write questions, they are compensated for that, for their time and their effort. And then we take all those questions, they get written, and every question that's written is then peer reviewed by 2 other experts in this group. And when we did CCRF, we had about 53 people as part of the question writing team. And if I wrote a question, somebody else reviewed it, and then a third person reviewed it as well to make sure all the questions align with the objectives, align with what the human resource people need and the hiring managers need, and that it fits in with the exam style. Then once that's done, we go into a beta process. And during the beta exam, we actually have hundreds of test takers take these exams to get certified. And I know somebody in here earlier I saw said they've already got their badge. And so they obviously were part of the beta score part, which is Punet. And so, they went through this process, and they were one of the hundreds of people who took this exam. And when you take the beta, you don't get your scores right away, but once we do release the scores, when the exam goes live, you get your score report and know how you did and whether you're certified or not. And what that does is it helps us figure out exactly how many people get the passing score and all of that. Because if you ever look at an exam like Security Plus and it says you need a 750 out of 900 to pass, and we all think that 750 divided by 900 gives us a passing score of 82%. It's actually not the way it works. It's actually a scaled score, and every question is actually looked at individually. And so as we went through the beta and 100 people took a question, if 90 of them got it right, that's actually marked as an easy question, and that gets less points than something where only 10 or 15 people got it right. And so there's this whole weighting that goes into it as well. And all of this gets done as part of what's called an Angoff study, which again is another area where we need usually 5 to 10 experts to come in and look at it. And they review all the beta results, they review all the questions, and then they agree or disagree on, is this a good question? Is this valid? Should it be a part of the beta exam? And then we create that final cut score. And then you're able to have the production exam that everyone in the world takes. And that's why it takes about 9 to 12 months to build one of these exams, because there's all this stuff that goes into it. As we've gotten better at it, we've gotten that time down to about 6 months. And our goal is to get that down to about 3 or 4 months, because we want to be very reactive to the marketplace and what demands are out there. Because in cybersecurity, things are changing so much. And so we always want to make sure we're able to do this much quicker. So that's the idea of places you can get involved. You can be part of the advisory council if you're one of those people who is working in a large organization and you have a lot of experience across cybersecurity in general. If you have an area of experience in a specific certification we're developing, you can help us with the job task analysis, and you can help us with writing questions. You can help us with the Angoff studies, and you can help us with the beta exams by being a participant. And then the other thing you can help us with is spreading the word. We all have networks of people in our organizations, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. And if you can help spread the word, that helps us as well. So these are all kind of the ways you can help us with Akylade as we're trying to help the cybersecurity industry at large. That being said, the last thing I want to leave you with before I go into question and answer period is our email. If you ever need to reach us, you can reach us at support@akylade.com. As Kip said, if you're interested in being part of the advisory council, he is the one who's leading that up. And so that's kip@akylade.com. And then you also see Allison here. She is one of our operations folks, and she's helping us with a lot of the daily work at Akylade. And so if you have any questions or need support, if you email support or Allison@akylade.com, she's usually the first one who'll be responding there, either her or one of the support team members. So all of that. Now, let me go back and answer a couple of questions we have. Yes. Okay. So the one I had was Fifi. Okay. Cool. And if anybody else has any other questions, please drop them in the chat while I'm answering this one as well. So Fifi says they just graduated in cybersecurity and they're preparing for the Security Plus exam they're taking in 2 weeks. You've taken the Dion course for Security Plus on Udemy and finished it with enough knowledge to get the CCRF. No. So the reason why I'm saying no is because we didn't design the exam to line up with Security Plus. So when you take Security Plus, one of the things you learned about was that you need to have a risk assessment process. And we talked about risk transfer, risk mitigation, and risk avoidance, and all that kind of stuff, right? And one of the frameworks they talk about that you can use is ITIL. Another one that you can use is the Center for Internet Security Controls. Another one you can use is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. And that's what I meant by the fact that, Security Plus, because it's such a foundational certification, they mention these different things, but that's about it. You get like in the textbook, I think there's a paragraph or 2 paragraphs on the NIST cybersecurity framework, whereas our ACCRF is going to actually take that and we actually expand it out and we look at solely the NIST cybersecurity framework and the content on that. The official guidance is about 55 pages. Our guidance is about 100 pages. And the reason for that is we actually expand and show you examples of how this stuff all works in the real world. So what I would recommend is, Fifi, once you're done with the Security Plus course, if you want to take the CCRF, you can either grab the textbook for it, which is the Mastering Cyber Resilience textbook on Amazon. There's an ebook of that or a physical copy that will be sent to you that looks something like this. Oh, not going to work because I have the green screen on. There we go. There we go. Looks like that. Sorry about that. I'm in my virtual studio here today. And that will have all the information you need to be able to pass. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is if you want a good overview that will cover what is on the exam in a video course that is taught by me and Kip, there's an old course out there that we have called Mastering the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. That course was actually built before the certification was, so it doesn't tie directly to the course, directly to the exam, and it's not designed as an exam preparation tool. But I will tell you that everything in that course, it's about a 3 to 4 hour course on Udemy. You can find it at akylade.com/Udemy or diontraining.com/Udemy and click through there and be able to get access to that course. I think it's usually about $10 on sale at Udemy. And that is actually a 3 to 4 hour course that covers the NIST cybersecurity framework in depth. From the foundation perspective, it will cover everything you need to know for the fundamentals exam. For the practitioner, it introduces the concepts, but it doesn't go deep enough to help you pass that exam. And that's why Dion Training is creating 2 new courses, one for CCRF and one for CCRP specifically, but those aren't available yet. But I think by the time you're done with your Security Plus, which will probably be in the next couple of weeks, if you want to do the NIST Cybersecurity Framework course and then take the CCRF, you would do fine doing that. Or if you like to read, the textbook would be another good way to do that. All right. And let's see. Allison said, oh, so we had somebody said they're interested in being on the beta list. Yeah, if you're interested in being on the beta list, if you are part of Akylade's mailing list, we will notify you anytime that there is a beta exam coming out so that you'll have the ability to participate in it. When we do beta exams, one of the other things we do is we create our textbooks first, and we give that to the exam writers, and we give that to the candidates who are taking the beta exam. And so that gives you the ability to have all the content you need. That is another thing that we do very different than other certifications. If anybody here has taken a CompTIA certification exam as a beta, they don't do that. You're lucky if they give you the exam objectives before the beta. Often you just show up and you have no idea what you're going to take, except that you know it's for Security Plus 701 or Network Plus 009. And then you just kind of walk in blindfolded because their perspective is we're looking for people who already are experts in the field in this area to take the beta. I think that's a bad approach though, because if I take the Security Plus exam without studying, I'm probably going to still score an 800 or 900 on it, right? But if somebody who's brand new takes that beta, they're going to get a failure because they don't know what to study. And so when we look at the beta, we want people to go through the beta having the ability of already looking at the material through our textbooks so that they can do well on the beta, just like they would on the real exam, and see what a real candidate would do on the exam as we're building out those betas. And that's really how we've designed those. So if you want to be a part of that, the easiest way to do that is just go to akylade.com. And on the homepage, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a thing that says sign up for our newsletter. If you sign up there, we usually send out something about once a week, once every other week. And anytime we have a beta or a call for people to help us with a job task analysis or people to write exam questions, we always email everybody out through that list. And so if you sign up there, you'll definitely be a part of that. And then Elizabeth, specifically, if you want to make sure you're notified for the beta, if you just want to shoot us an email at support@akylade.com, I'll make sure that Allie gets you added to that list. So when the CCRP comes out, you could take that beta. If you want to take the CCRP beta, which will be starting December or January, somewhere around there, make sure you've already passed your CCRF. That is a requirement before you take the CCRP. So you need to take the CCRF first, pass it, because without that, you're going to be completely lost on the CCRP. All right. What other questions do we have? I'll open the floor. We've got about 5 more minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, if you want to vocalize your questions, you can use the raise your hand function, and I can bring you on the screen and let you ask the question as well.
I've got a question.
Yeah, go
Professor
ahead.
Dion. Okay. How much does this thing cost?
That is a great question. I didn't answer. Yes. So as I said earlier, we're focused on generating value, not profits. And one of the things we've done is we've intentionally kept our certification prices very, very low. So to give you some comparison, if you take a SANS course, anybody know how much a SANS course costs with a certification? $5,000 to $8,000. Yeah, $5,000 to $8,000. We're not there. When you go down to the next level, I see things like CEH and ISC squared, $1,000 to $1,200. We're not there either. If I look at CompTIA, they're at $392 for Security Plus. We're not there either. What we've done is we've kept it intentionally low. And at the fundamentals level, we're currently charging $125 for the exam. And for the practitioner level, we're charging $200 for the exam because it is a higher level exam. And it takes a lot more to develop it because those scenario-based questions. But again, we make that very, very inexpensive. So it is designed to be a very low price thing. And then for the beta exam, those usually are done at $50. So they are less than the 125 or 200. But there is less materials available to study because the only thing you have to study from is the textbook that we create. None of the video courses are out yet because the certification ATPs are waiting for us to go through the beta, see if there's any changes that need to be made before we go into production. So
I have one more question about cost.
Yes.
Okay. If I live in Nigeria, do I have to pay 125 USD?
Currently, yes. Unlike some other companies, they do regional pricing. For instance, CompTIA is known for their regional pricing. If I'm an American, I pay $392 for Security Plus, but if I'm a Nigerian, I pay about $200 for Security Plus because they consider that an emerging market. We have chosen not to do that, and the reason is we've just decided to make everything one flat, low cost for everyone around the world. But we also don't want cost to be a prohibitive factor. So if somebody is in a market where there is a cost issue, we try to work with them on that. But right now, as a standard, it's 125 anywhere you are in the world. And that was just to keep things very simple for all of our training partners as well, because that way everybody's paying the same price. They don't have to have multiple vouchers for multiple pricing from multiple areas.
And I would also say that because we're pricing at the lower end of the current market rates for certifications, our perception is that it isn't as much of a reach for people in other countries. That isn't to say that means it's cheap. I mean, we're not saying that.
Yep.
But we're trying to balance affordability with simplicity. The simpler we keep it, the less we have to charge. Complex businesses cost more money to run. I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line.
Exactly. And everything we've done when we built this business is with the idea of making it as affordable as possible for our candidates, as well as valuable as possible for the hiring managers that we're trying to target by building out these certifications. So as I said, we're not really focused on the profitability. If we were, we'd be charging $500 or $1,000 for our certifications like everybody else does. That's not our business model. Our business model is to try to reach as many of you as possible. And for us, we need to reach 10, 20, 30,000 people to make it a profitable business, even at that low price point. Because we are a low price point, we have to make it up on volume. And it's a very similar model that I've used in Dion training. For those of you who are Dion training students, you can come to me and get a course for $10 or $15. Heck, you can't even buy a textbook for that. The CompTIA textbook is $89, right? And so we try to keep everything very affordable so we can reach more of you and be able to help you where you are. And that's worked really well for us on the Dion training side. Christopher, you had a question on the advisory council. So as far as the advisory council, if you're a member of the advisory council, as one of the thank yous for being part of our advisory council, we do give you special freebies. For example, if you're going to take the beta exam, we give you a free voucher for that because you participated. If you help us with the exam development and actually writing questions, you are not actually able to take the exam. And the reason is, if you take the exam, you already know the questions because you wrote them, right? So that would be unfair. So what we do is you actually, if you're a participant, to be one of the question writers, we actually look at your resume, we review it first. And if you're one of the question writers who's approved, you actually get certified by being one of the question writers because you obviously know the material or we wouldn't have you writing questions in the first place.
Right.
And you actually get a special badge that says, exam developer on your digital badge as well as part of being a part of that community of helping us with that. So the answer is, Christopher, a lot of our advisory council members also help write questions. And when they do, they are automatically certified. And if they don't, they can take the beta exam because they haven't seen the questions and they become one of those beta testers for us. Can we do something with college students who want to get certified? Yes, we totally can, Kingsley. If you shoot me an email at support@accolade.com, I can work with you and help you get certified. That won't be a problem. One of the other areas that we are targeting is college and education space. Not you necessarily as a college student, but the institutions themselves. So, for example, Western Governors University, if you're familiar with that, they have a lot of courses that are tied to certifications. Our ultimate goal and that we're working to, as we have some discussions open with them, is to get this as one of their courses. So they would have a course on the NIST cybersecurity framework and use the ACCRF and CCRP as the certification, as the culmination or the midterm and the final exam for that course. So we're working on that with colleges around the U.S. and Canada, and hopefully outside the U.S. as well as we start expanding further. But most of our network happens to be in the U.S. and Canada, so that's where we're starting. So yeah, Kingsley, definitely send me an email, and I can definitely take care of you. Did I miss any questions? Did I get them all in the chat? I got them all. Okay, cool. According to Ali, I got all the questions in the chat. So last call for any questions. I see Elizabeth is typing and Jay is typing. So I'll give them a second.
As we come to the top of the hour here.
Yep. Thank you, Jay, for participating today. And I'd love to hear from all of you. Any feedback you have on Acylade, like I said, we are an open door right now. So you can always reach us, Jason at Akylade, Kip at Akylade, Allison at Akylade, or support at Akylade. Support goes to the entire team, and then the individual ones goes to our individual inboxes. So, yeah. From Jay or from Elizabeth. Okay, the course, by the way, did your wife ever give you a better manager score? Oh, no, she didn't. Yeah, so what Elizabeth is talking about is in one of my courses, I can't remember which one, it might be Security Plus, we talk about doing employee surveys. And when we did that at Dion training, everybody was saying I was a 5-star manager. I'm a 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. They're all happy with me. And we did an anonymous survey, and we were talking about this is from the CYSA course. We're talking about de-anonymization, and one of the reviews came in, and it was 1 star all the way across. I'm like, wow, who really hates me? And because we're a small company, we only had about 10 or 15 people at that time. One of the questions that was asked by the survey company was, "Are you married or not? What's your age? Are you male or female?" And the age was like, 30 to 40, married or not, female or not. And we only had one married female between 30 and 40 years old who happened to be my wife. And so the 1-star review came from my wife saying I'm a horrible manager and I'm the worst person ever. So yeah, Elizabeth is calling back to my CYSA course. But yeah, so thank you all for spending time with us this afternoon. I know for some of you it's super late at night, especially those in Nigeria and the UK, and I know it's super early in the morning for some of you in India. I mean, it's like 2 in the morning in India, so somebody stayed up way late for us. Either stayed up late or woke up early, so I appreciate it. We did record this, so this will be available. If anybody wants to go back and watch anything, you'll get an email with the recording link since you registered for the webinar. And if there's anything else you need in the meantime, just let us know. We're happy to help. And if you have ideas of areas that you think we need to be addressing in certifications or problems you've seen in the certification industry from your perspective as a candidate or a student, what are the things that frustrate you and annoy you about this whole certification space? Shoot us an email. We'd love to hear it, because that goes into our calculus of how do we build our brand and how do we build out this agency, because we're trying to build it to focus on the hiring managers and the candidates and what you both need to be able to put you together. Because this really is almost like online dating. We're trying to match you to the hiring manager and get that job for you that you want. And if that's not happening, then the certification isn't valuable, right? And that's the way I've always looked at certifications. Certifications are only as valuable as the thing they do for you. And in this case, it's right now, a lot of it is done as a filtering mechanism. Do you have this cert or not? And that'll get you in front of a hiring manager. And that's what we're trying to do for you. Are there courses or certs for leaders of leaders? So right now we haven't had that yet in our plan. Our first 2 sets that we've decided on was the NIST cybersecurity framework and the risk management side of the business. So those are the first 2 that we're doing. I really like the idea of leaders for leaders, or how to lead a SOC, or how to lead a cybersecurity team, or even how to lead technical professionals when you're not a technical professional. Because I know a lot of people who make it as a CTO or a CIO, and they don't come from a technical background. If you look back to Equifax in 2017, their CIO at the time was a music major. She did not have a technical background, but she had a whole team of technicians working for her in a very highly technical, complex area. And so I think that would be a really important thing. How long are the training or the course? So for the fundamentals exam, the training should be probably around 5 to 6 hours. It's usually designed as a 1 day in-person training, but as an online course that really is about 4 to 5 hours by the time you take out breaks and bathroom breaks and lunch breaks and all that kind of stuff. The practitioner is designed to be a 2 day course in person. So that's about a 10 to 12 hour course of video. So if you've ever taken IDLE Foundations, it's kind of like that. And then IDLE CDS or IDLE Leader, which is usually a 2 to 3 day course, it's kind of a line there. So I'd say 4 to 6 hours for fundamentals, 10 to 15 hours for practitioner, depending on how you study and how quickly you go. Elizabeth, yeah, we definitely want to talk to you. It sounds like you're the right person, especially for that new risk management one that we're going to be working on in 2024. We definitely want you involved with that. So yes, definitely. And then the cost for foundation is currently $125. But Kingsley, if you reach out to me at support@accolade.com, I'll take care of you as well, because I know you had mentioned being a college student and you're also in an overseas environment. So we can work directly with you on that. Awesome. Well, that being said, I want to thank you all for your time for the last hour and sticking with me here. If you ever need anything, you know how to reach us, support@accolade.com. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. And then we are going to